afternoon, everyone. It is Thursday, which means when there's time, I do a Wildcat weekly wrap-up, bringing you kind of the most updated information of the sanctuary here. Nice to see everyone. I first wanted to start off with a huge thank you for everybody's support in the Cats in Crisis campaign, especially our donors who do the matches. I know that means so much to all of you when your donations get doubled for the cats. And we already put the order in for the customized trailer, so we're really excited about that. The big storage container has been delivered, and what's going to go in there is the Cats in Crisis, the fence panels, all the things you bought off the wish list, the generators, chainsaws, things like that, that mean that we can't touch it on a daily basis because we want it there in an event of emergency. And I had to write myself a note on something too. And what I did with every item that came in, we marked it with red duct tape. So if it gets borrowed for another need, we know it has to be replaced. And so we know it's not nearly as glamorous as helping us build a hospital or even the food center and the food chutes, but it is so important that we have crisis equipment available for us as well as any other facility that needs it. So that was a huge help, and we're so grateful for that. We also got the brush hog, which doesn't seem like it's a crisis thing, but it is, because we want to have fire break around the whole property, which we do every season, and so now we can do that ourselves. Jesse and Bobby have already been down knocking a lot of stuff down in the ditches, so that because it has been so dry here, fire hazard is really high this time of year, and so we actually were able to get that down. And we got our first big rain yesterday, and it was only about 10 minutes. It was sideways rain, 60-mile-per-hour winds. We had water coming not only in the downstairs hospital, the upstairs team room. We had tree down on the perimeter fence, which Bobby and Elise and Jesse got taken care of right away. We had a couple down on Pride Prairie. They were not very big trees, but the cats were locked in, and those trees were able to get taken care of. Then our staff did perimeter fence inspections, so that brush hog was able to clear that area so that our UTVs can drive around. And so it's amazing how all of these tools come into effect for us to use when we need to keep the sanctuary safe. So thank you for that. To give a couple updates on kind of what's going on, and then I'll finish with cats and things, is we had one of the U.S. Senator Klobuchar came to do a walkthrough last week. We were honored to actually host her. We're always honored to host any of our representatives or senators, especially because it's a bipartisan issue. The captive wildlife crisis and the passage of the Big Cat Public Safety Act goes across both aisles to make sure that we are keeping people safe and that there is a safe alternative for these big cats when they're seized. So she enjoyed seeing the Ukraine lion cubs, definitely a lot. Now we're trying to, there we go, reconnect. We also have our board meeting that's in person this week. So 7 of our board members come on site. And we do a whole meeting, everything from reviewing the strategic plan, the auditors, financial auditors are presenting the financial statements for last year. We are going to do a sanctuary tour because not a lot of our board members are on site all the time. Some of them are from very far away. And so it'll be a great opportunity for them to meet new staff and really learn the inner workings again of the Wildcat Sanctuary here in Sandstone on site. We have some new board members, and we have a new treasurer coming on because our lovely treasurer, who we love so much, is off for her final term limit. So as part of really appropriate board of directors doing best practices, there are term limits and people have to rotate off. It also means I'm a non-voting board member. I am an employee of the Wildcat Sanctuary, even as the executive director and founder. So I don't call all the shots. I could be fired tomorrow too, which we hope not. But the whole goal of that is to build a sustainable sanctuary far past my lifetime. And we keep that intact through our mission, vision, strategic anchors. And so I have no concerns with the leadership and the staffing on site. Everybody has the best interest of our current mission. And that's just the way I've really focused the Wildcat Sanctuary, is to really be independent of me. Definitely, I am the visionary and everything, but it takes a village. And it's really important to me that TWS can stand on its own and that we're stewards of your dollars. So that's really crazy. Obviously, it's been busy too, because we had Olivia and Brooke go on the road to rescue to bring Fargo, the F1 Bengal, home. And it was really nice. I got to meet him yesterday. He's quite scared, but he was described as a feral, non-socialized F1 Bengal, which is a hybrid of a domestic Bengal and an Asian leopard cat. So he definitely has a lot of wild ancestry in him. You can tell he's been on his own for a while. He weighed just a little over 6 pounds and is really, really thin. So right now he's coming up for all of us to get treats and foods off of tongs. I have a feeling he's going to be a lot like Cougar Anastasia, that when he is full and he starts putting on weight, we're going to see less and less in person, but he'll be hopefully get his intake exam in the next 2 weeks. We have pushed that back because he was sedated at the shelter to try and get a health certificate and more vet work done, but he wouldn't go down. His adrenaline was too high. And between that, the drive, the capture, we think he's really overstressed. So we want him to decompress for a couple weeks, and then we'll do the formal intake exam. And hopefully by then he'll also have some more body weight on him. But we're so thankful for the shelter that reached out right away as soon as they caught him in a feral cat trap, and that we were able to help. So stay tuned on Mr. Fargo. We also, I helped, I'm not a gardener, but I helped Michelle, one of our garden volunteers, with some gardens on site. We wanted to add a kind of a reflective place by the Animal Care Center where we can honor long-term board members who've done years of service, like our former board chair, Gail Plawacki, who had 20 years of service, Melissa, who our treasurer, we had Heather and Dawn, other board members that have been just extremely important to the sanctuary. One way to honor them. So we planted trees and some bushes, and there's a little bench there. And so, it's just, we just want, when you walk around the sanctuary, to just realize how many lives have been touched and how many lives have supported the amazing animals that call the sanctuary home. We also have a big day tomorrow. As you know, we have the Fill the Freezer food drive. I turn, I would say, over half a century next week. And my really wish is that we fill the freezer. It is amazing to see how much food we go through and how specialized the diets are for the cats. So it's not even just the chicken, it is actually the commercialized diet that we need for cats like Kitu and Lavani because of their gastritis. Our witness protection, one of our witness protection cats, has an issue with eating and regurgitating based on his former health, and so he needs a specialized diet delivered in a specialized way so that he can consume it all without regurgitating or choking. We also have so much of the Bengal and hybrid food. I mean, it is on the list, the Chewy list, every week, and I know you guys are awesome at purchasing it for us, and it feels like it's just still on the list. That's because if you knew how many cases of food were going for 42 hybrid cats, it's an ongoing need. So filling the freezer and doing one of the most basic things we can to care for the cats at the sanctuary is my birthday wish, and I'm forever grateful for all of you that give during the next week. We're asking $50 to fill the freezer. If everybody gives $50, that's a lot of food we can purchase for the cats, and so thank you in advance for helping me with my birthday wish this year. We also have, as you guys remember, when we put in the Animal Care Center here, there was a big issue with how the company spliced the main electric to the property and moved that electric. We have tried over with the contract to try and get them to come fix it, and they have refused over and over again, saying that it's not their problem. So we could spend a lot of money in court, or we can spend money fixing this, because we need to make sure we have electric to all the buildings. So we have the new electric going in to fix what the contractors messed up when they did this building, to make sure that we have electric to the whole property. When they started messing with the electric to do this building, we lost power to the pole shed in quarantine. Over the winter, we lost all our power in the middle of the night to the bungalows, and we had to hook up manually all our generators, all the extension cords to make sure they had heat. It took extra staff time, it took overtime, it took equipment purchases, and luckily, because we're always ready for a crisis, and even more so with the recent help, we're able to get by, but the freezer went down. We also had staff and interns that were getting electric shocks from the food center because the grounded wire that was through the splice was having issues. It just wasn't safe, and it wasn't worth the time to fight a big company that has millions of dollars to try and say this isn't their fault. So whenever you give to general operating, it helps us do things like that. It helps us not only pay for salaries, pay for heat, but when these kind of issues happen, and it could be just because in 10 years from now our electricity is old and we're fixing it in other parts. This was not the case this time. So we have a huge thousands of dollars of projects starting tomorrow morning to fix that electric. So we're excited about it, but we wish that money was going directly towards the cats versus a repair that a vendor won't stand behind. Good news on some cat fronts. You know, the mergers that we did, Ramsey and Brown are doing well, Chili's doing well, Hilo is still doing well with the other two. He just still is very vocal and grumpy and has a bubble and does not want Thor and Maximilian around him, but they're cohabitating fine. Serval Phoenix, you know, he was kind of off on some of the heat days, so they've been locking him in, giving him extra juice. Some of the older cats have a harder time in the heat, and we are going into what's supposed to be 100 degrees for like a week long, which is unheard of in Minnesota. So we're so grateful for the indoor buildings. We have fans. We also have temporary air conditioners. So those are all going to help these cats on the top of the blood sickles and everything else they do. But the next week we'll be really taking a very close watch on a lot of the cats in the heat. So Buddy the Bobcat is we're hoping to move him back down to his old yard this week, because in quarantine, as you know, he didn't merge with anybody. He made it quite clear he likes his own space, and so we're going to honor that. So we have volunteers on site working with Jesse and the caretakers and Bobby to clear out his yard, because the grass really overgrew while it was vacant. And so hopefully we want to move him. We might wait till the heat spell's over. We don't want to add stress and heat, so it's really just going to be watching it day by day. We have other Bengals that have moved, not mergers, but Coco and Sine, the new Savannahs, have moved out of quarantine, are in one of the hybrid bungalows by themselves. Sine is so overstimulated all the time. We love this boy, but he is so food motivated and so much that he can bite when he's overstimulated. So he's caretaker only right now, but they're doing well. I have a feeling that is why Sine and Coco were given up, not because of Coco being not socialized to people, but about Sine's overstimulation of needing people all the time. And so because of that, Tigger's moved, I think Lupita's moved. They've all just moved like one bungalow over, so we haven't really done sponsor updates for that, because really their life hasn't changed. They're just moved to a fenced area, not bungalow one over. But it's been a lot of work for the staff and trying to do it in a least stressful way and monitoring them. As you know, we talked about too that Savannah Lloyd, we wanted to move over by Fiona and Bruno and see if that would work. He's in the holding yard. He's had some stress response, not from the cats, but diarrhea and things like that. So he's on meds. He's doing well, and he seems to enjoy the area. So the vet team, the caretaking team are trying to decide if he ate something that didn't agree with him, because we know in that yard they catch a lot of nature on their own, or what it was, but he seems to be back to himself, and they'll be keeping a very, very close eye on him. Taras, has had this kind of little limp a little bit, could be growing pains. He could have sprained it from working, running around the yard so much. So it's getting better, but it's still there. So he's been kept quiet a little bit and only shifted out during certain times, but hopefully by next week he'll be back to his full self. Baby Jenga we sedated him thinking it was a dental, thinking he had cellulitis on his head. It ended up being an abscess that ruptured on its own, and so that's clear. He is having even more swelling in that shoulder and things as we looked. There's nothing we can do about it, just continue to give pain management, and he's coming up for treats and things like that. Let's see who else. Benny, the Bengal, he was straining in his litter box today, being very vocal, so Dr. Campbell came out and watched him. He had a little bit of runny stool, so we don't know if he got too much churu treats or something else, so we'll just watch him. But it's very consistent for Benny. He does that a lot, but we're on it right when we see anything different, and the veterinarian, Dr. C, came and looked out at him. And so that's kind of the weekly update. There's so much that's going on that I can't share with you. Behind the scenes, there are about 3 or 4 cases right now. One keeps getting prolonged, and we don't know if, when, or how many cats will need us, but we are preparing to help needed. We also know there's some federal cases pending, and then we have a placement pending too. And so you will probably see some more faces at the sanctuary in the next couple months. But if not, it's because they went into our witness protection program, which is a much needed program that we've been running for years for cats that have been seized by authorities. And during the case, we can't share them with you, we can't share photos, we can't tell you about them. And then the fundraising is all our own. And so again, when you give to general operating or even fill the freezer, all of that helps us care for the animals that we have to keep hidden from you. And then we hope one day they become ours. And so a lot of times if they're in witness protection, they might graduate to amnesty, kind of like Nova did, or they might graduate to letting you know the full story, like Noah and Elizabeth. And sometimes it feels like we've kept them so long, like Tarek and Polina, before we could share them, and some of our current witness protection cats that we hope every week that we get legal custody. But so far some of those cases are going on 1.5 years. And so when you give to our general operating, you're giving to cats in the witness protection program. And so we're forever grateful for that. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And again, I appreciate everybody who's contributing to my birthday fundraiser. It's so nice and such a wonderful, wonderful gift to feel your love and helping the cats at the same time. So I will see you next week as my birthday draws closer and near, and hopefully by then we will be able to place all those orders for food and be able to fill the freezer so that we have it through the rest of the summer. Thank you all.